Sports bettors, this video is going to change your life. 3 player props you cannot miss on Underdog Fantasy and PrizePicks. So we're going to be looking at both of these platforms. And why don't we just get into my first pick, right? So my first pick is from the OddsJam middle betting tool. And what I'm taking is Davante Adams under 89.5 receiving yards, right? So we'll go through in a second. What do these implied odds mean on PrizePicks? But last week I had Davante Adams under 99.5 receiving yards. This week we're taking under 89.5. And the reason we like it, right, is you can kind of see here. And again, browsing odds on OddsJam is completely free. So we'll go through kind of the math behind Underdog Fantasy and PrizePicks here in a second. But long story short, what OddsJam allows you to do completely for free for any sport you want to look at, MLB, NFL, any player props, is just compare where Underdog's lines are and PrizePicks' lines are compared to the rest of the market. So here, for example, I really like the value, which I found from the middle betting tool, in Davante under 89.5 receiving yards, right? As a sharp bettor, I'm always looking for value, right? I'm always looking for where I can find an edge. And what you'll notice is the sportsbooks, Caesars, DraftKings, they're pricing Davante, they're setting his line at over under 84.5, juice towards the under. Pinnacle Sportsbook, which is the sharpest bookmaker, you can see they're giving you, if we actually refresh this, we can see if their market shows back up. It looks like they pulled it briefly. Their market's also at 84.5, right? So you can see that Underdog Fantasy is a full 5 points lower than the rest of the sports books. And this is why sports betting is so fascinating, right? Is because you can find these spots, these big line discrepancies where we're getting a lot of value, right? We're getting 5 points of improvement from all of the sports books, Pinnacle, DraftKings, and Caesars. So if Davante has 85, 86, 87, 88, 89 receiving yards, our bet is cashing on the under on Underdog, whereas on any sports book, you're losing your bet, right? The under's not cashing. So we're getting 5 yards of improvement, which is a lot, right? And this is called a middle bet, right? It's when sportsbooks have the line for a player prop set at a different level, right? Here, the sportsbooks are at over 84.5, Underdog's at 89.5, and just as a logical, data-driven sports bettor, it's like, okay, the value on Davante is obviously on the under on Underdog, right? Because either Underdog is correct in where they're setting the line at 89.5, or all the sports books are right. These sports books, they take a lot more betting volume. Pinnacle is the sharpest sports book in the world. So when 3 sports books are lining up together and saying, hey, his receiving yards line should be at 84.5, that's where it should be. So when you can find 5 yards higher, you should be slamming that under, because this under should be here, 84.5. So anyways, that's the first bet I locked in. Now let's kind of get into Underdog Fantasy versus PrizePicks, why you should sign up for it. So again, if you're new to the OddsJam YouTube, we have 2 more picks. We'll go through them. But the goal of these videos is really, as someone who gambled, full time, made a lot of money doing it, like, my goal is to help you understand the concepts that you need to beat the books, right? Because there's too much BS on the internet that's like, oh, this coach said this. That's all BS, right? Making money sports betting the way the pros do it, the way the sharps do it, it's all about looking at data. When I worked on Wall Street at a quant, it's all data, it's all data, it's all data, right? All you care about is data as a sharp bettor who's trying to find an edge. Everything else is really BS. So we're always looking for these spots, like we just found on Davante, where a line is like 5 yards off from the rest of the market, and we can slam it back into place, right? So that's the first pick I ended up going with. So what we can do is we can go here, and we can go, okay, Davante Adams, we want to take his under for sure, because this should be 5 yards lower. So the way that PrizePicks and Underdog work, we've gone through this math before, but essentially on both platforms, any 2-pick entry, you're going to see 20 to win 60, right? Doesn't matter if you're looking at Underdog, if you're looking at PrizePicks, you're getting 20 to win 60. So they're identical. So when they're giving you 20 to win 60, what that means is they're charging the implied juice of minus 137. So you'll see that for PrizePicks and Underdog Fantasy, any 2-pick entry has minus 137 juice on the over and the under. And the reason it's the same always for the over and the under is because you'll notice for any 2-pick entry, it doesn't matter what you select. It's always 20 to win 60 on both platforms. So like the price is always the same. Any 2-pick entry comes out to plus 200 odds, 20 to win 40 in profit, 20 to win 60 total, including your stake, so 20 to win 40 in profit. So any 2-pick entry comes out to plus 200 odds. So the implied price is minus 137. Now, the reason underdog is much better is you'll notice for 3-pick entries, you get 20 to win 100 on PrizePicks, whereas now, if we're looking at underdog, we're getting 20 to win 120, which is plus 500 odds, 20 to win 100 in profit, versus PrizePicks is giving us 20 to win 80 in profit, $100 total. So it's plus 400 versus plus 500. So underdog has better payouts, right? They have better implied juice, less juice for 3-pick entries. So for a 3-pick entry, which is always what we're looking to place on underdog, the odds are much more advantageous because the implied juice is minus 122 as opposed to on PrizePicks, it's minus 141, right? If you think about it, if you know every 3-pick parlay, right? It doesn't matter what you select, overs, unders, you're always getting 20 to win 120 on underdog fantasy, right? So again, what this kind of shows you is just like, what am I trying to say? Is because you're always getting plus 500 on a 3-pick entry or a 3-leg parlay, you know that the implied price is minus 122, right? Because any 3 legs that all have the same price that come out to plus 500 odds, the odds on those legs are going to be minus 122, if that makes sense. If it doesn't, we'll have a full video on the end screen kind of breaking down PrizePicks, strategy, stuff like that. So long story short, if you don't learn anything from this YouTube channel, what is useful to learn is if we go back to this Raiders game very briefly, is what's useful to learn is that you don't want to get ripped off, right? You want to make sure you're getting value in the odds. So if we go back here and then we go to receiving yards, kind of like a good example, and then we'll get into the next play, which is Ohtani under 1.5 bases. But if we go here, it's like, wow, you can see they just lowered it again. It's 81.5 now for Davante. So we want to be all over Davante Adams under 89.5, right? This used to be 84.5 if I'm not crazy. Now it's 81.5. So sportsbooks keep moving his receiving yards line lower, right? The market's dynamic, so we always want to be following the data. But what's important to realize, and this is completely free to do with OddsJam, is before you ever place an underdog entry, if you were going to go with Davante over, just as a sanity check, you should check underdog versus where the sportsbooks are pricing Davante. And even if you don't have Caesars, DraftKings, Pinnacle available in your location, like you're getting ripped off if you could be getting over 81.5 receiving yards at minus 106, and you're including over 89.5 at worse implied odds in your underdog entry, right? This is minus, if you're including this in a 2-pick, entry on underdog, you're getting minus 137 implied juice for over 89.5 receiving yards. Caesars is giving you over 81.5, 8 yards better at minus 106, which is obviously much better. So that's a play. So it's just rational. Make sure you're not getting ripped off. Making money sports betting is already hard. If you don't learn anything, line shop, make sure you're not getting ripped off. Because if you're placing bets like over 89.5 on Davante, on underdog, you're literally going to lose your shirt. Sports betting. You're going to go broke so quick. So quick. So next bet we have is a positive EV bet. So the positive EV tool is pretty simple. Obviously OddsJam has tons of odds kind of on the site, millions of odds updating in real time. So all this tool does, and you can kind of just filter, I just put in underdog fantasy 5-pick, which is the same for 3-pick, 5-pick, whatever. The odds are the same, is Shohei under 1.5 bases, we can get minus 122, right? In a 3-pick or 5-pick. You're getting minus 137 implied odds in a 2-pick entry. And again, there's an $100 deposit bonus, so click the link below and sign up regardless. You should at least do the $100 sign-up bonus. It's very easy. You just get $100 for free that you can bet on anything, so you can tail this pick. So Ohtani under 1.5 bases. I mean, again, clear pricing discrepancy, right? Which is exactly what we're looking for as a sharp bettor. This is how you make money, right? You look for sports books that are screwing it up and you hammer those bets. So here we can see minus 122 is what we're getting in a 3-pick or a 5-pick entry. Sportsbooks are pricing this minus 164, minus 160, minus 163, right? Pinnacle, the sharpest sportsbook in the world, pricing this at minus 163 and the over at plus 121. So what you can do is you can go here to a no-vig odds calculator, and what this super cool calculator does is pretty simple. It just takes a sportsbook's market and removes the vig to tell you the win probability and tells you the win probability for your bet, right? So the way that sportsbooks work is pretty simple. It's a market, right? It's like the stock market. People buy a stock, the price goes up. It's the same thing here, right? Sportsbooks set lines. As sharp action comes in, as action comes in, they move around lines to balance supply and demand, and it's a fair market, right? Pinnacle is the sharpest bookmaker, so their lines are the most accurate. They're like impossible to beat. They let you bet a ton of money on them. They allow arbitrage betting. They don't limit, like tons of stuff, right? So this bookmaker is the sharpest, most efficient betting market. So we take their odds and we essentially remove the vig to be like, what do we think the true price is? So we can see for Ohtani under 1.5 bases, they're pricing it at minus 163 and they're giving you the over at plus 121. So when we remove the vig, and I highly recommend you check out this calculator, you read this text like 10 times, you internalize it, you can email us with questions, always happy to help, is, what you see is the true price is minus 136.97 according to Pinnacle, right? And we're getting this in our entry minus 122. And that's exactly what a positive EV bet is. It's when you're getting odds that are more advantageous than the true price, right? You're getting better odds. Here, the true price is minus 135. That would be, if you were placing this bet at minus 135 odds, in millions of iterations, you wouldn't make or lose money. That's the true odds, right? So if you're getting better odds, it's a positive EV bet. It's a bet that has a profit margin that's positive, right? And this is the play we want to be on. So again, it's not like easy to beat Underdog Fantasy because you can imagine they have millions of odds, or not millions. Underdog Fantasy probably has tens of thousands of odds, I guess, on their site at any given time. So what you can kind of, spelling his name wrong. There we go. So here we have 2 picks, Davante under, Shohei under. And again, like everything else on Underdog, don't touch. Just touch the ones that have value, right? It's just like rational sports betting, right? This is very non-BS sports betting. Find the plays that actually have mathematical edge, value, and hit those, right? Like you don't even have to know anything about baseball. When all the sports books are pricing something at a true price with the vig removed of roughly minus 136, and all the sports books are in line, and you can get it minus 122 in an underdog entry, that's a slam, right? Next, we got Bobby Witt under. Super good once again. Absolute hammer on this play as well. So what we can do, actually, is I'll refresh this, see if any new opportunities are available, is if we go to Witt, what you can see is, for any 3-pick entry, let's just go back here. For any 3-pick entry, right, we're going to be getting 20 to win 120, so plus 500 odds on Underdog. Now what you'll notice is, hey, if I went to DraftKings and tried to place this parlay, I'd only be getting plus 399, and I'd be betting on Davante 8 yards worse. So I'm getting plus 500 on Underdog, 101 cents of improvement from DraftKings if you created the exact same bet, and I'm getting 8 yards of improvement on my under bet, right? That's how the sharps make money. That's how the pros make money. And you can see right here, I locked it in for $500. So it's a 3-pick entry. I need everyone to hit. I got this handsome guy under, this handsome guy under, and this handsome guy under. So hopefully they all go under. Got a diverse group of unders, and let's make some money.